So I realize that this is pretty unconventional, but this whole thing has been completely bizarre and just stupid anyway. So, about a month ago, maybe a little over a month ago, about a month and a half ago, I was over at your house, or Eric's house, and you and we were speaking about how we were going to start working on our communication. You wanted to be able to start to get to know your grandkids. And I said, you know what, in order for us to do that, we need to be communicating better, because I won't feel comfortable with you seeing them if we can't communicate. And so we agreed, yeah, let's start working on our communication. Let's do this for the kids. Last week I was over there and you saw the kids, you got to hold Alaric. Things went really good. You know, we were talking, I was asking how you were doing. You were talking about going back to Idaho and everything that was going on with your family. And, you enjoyed seeing Alaric, you enjoyed seeing Olivia. Everything was going really good. We left, smiles, positive energy. It was awesome, right? So a couple days later, I was thinking about how you're really not getting out of the house. There's all kinds of things that you like to do around the house, or like to do around Austin. And I thought, you know what, why don't I just go ahead and call up Dad, ask him if he wants to go out to a movie or something, get him out of the house, break up the monotony that's going on around there, especially since it's pretty depressing. So I realized I don't have a current phone number for Dad. So I was going to call up Eric and ask him to give me your phone number, but he was asleep. So I text Austin and I said, hey, Austin, can you just go ahead and give me Dad's number? And he goes, yeah, let me go and ask him if that's okay. And I thought, okay, that's strange, but sure, So he gets back to me and he says, yeah, Dad doesn't want you to have his phone number. And I was like, okay, that's okay. And so he goes, is there a message you want me to relay to Dad for you? And I am so sick of getting my siblings involved and triangulating and all of this. And so I said, you know what, Austin, don't worry about it. Just ask him to give me a call, Just say, hey, Dad, can you call Audra when you have a chance? He texts back, well, Audra, I don't know how to tell you this, but he doesn't want to talk to you. And I'm like, what the heck? What did I do wrong? I don't even know. I mean, you and I spoke specifically about how if I did something wrong, you needed to let me know. And you said you would. So I'm left going over everything that, all of our last conversations together. I can't figure it out. I don't know. So I go ahead and I write you an email and I say, hey, Dad, I was just trying to see if you wanted to go out. I'm really confused. I'm kind of hurt. Did I do something to upset you? Please let me know so I can fix it. I literally said that. And you read the email, no reply. So, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Especially now that my kids are involved. I'm not doing this. And so I decided just to go ahead and say what I've been needing to say to you for years. This is a condensed version, since there's not enough time in either of our lives for me to actually tell you everything, but it will give you at least some idea of how I felt. I decided to write it down in an open letter. The reason why is because it would get shared with anybody or everybody anyway, because you like to do that. You like to share bits and pieces of what I've said to everybody and not give them a shred of context so that somehow it looks like I'm being mean to you or I'm crazy or something. So this actually allows me to put my words in my mouth, because you like to put words in my mouth and I'm not letting you do that anymore. So these are going to be my own words, and it's an open letter. So since everyone gets to know your version of our business, they're actually going to hear the truth for once. I also decided to record it because these are probably going to be the last words that I ever get to tell you. You know, I think this is going to be the last time I ever get to speak to my dad. So I thought it was important that you at least hear me, see me, and understand the impact you've had on my life. So without further ado, here's my letter to you, Dad. Dad. So here I am. Once again, I'm left feeling like an idiot for trying to allow myself to give you another chance to be the kind of person and father I'd hope that you would want to be. If not for me, at least for yourself. I know at this point you would never be the kind of father I want or need because too much has happened and there is not enough time for the kind of repair that would be needed. I understand that, so I was not under any illusions. Instead, I set the bar quite low. I didn't want to set you up for failure. I thought, or better yet, I had hoped that you'd at least not have the energy to keep doing this. This spontaneous silent treatment and refusal to speak to me was without explanation or provocation. Aren't you sick of this by now? Seriously? Yet again, you go out of your way to hurt me. I honestly do not understand what causing me pain gets you in return. It's mind-boggling that you still have the energy for this. But this is not normal. No, it's not normal to be a 60-year-old man who gets off on ostracizing and bullying his adult daughter, especially when she's trying to give him the opportunity to have some time with his grandkids. I'm getting absolutely nothing from this exchange, but you were. You were getting a chance to get to know and love your only grandchildren. I feel bad that you've chosen to deny yourself the experience of knowing and loving the two most beautiful little people on this earth. You literally have days, weeks, and maybe months left on this earth, and this is how you choose to spend your time. It's so sad and disappointing. I've been thinking a lot lately about how my children will feel when it's my time to leave this earth. I'm hoping that there's a huge contrast between their experience and what my siblings and I are going through. I hope they feel differently than what we are feeling. The reason why this has been on my mind is because I told Eric the other day, it's so hard because I've never felt Dad's loved me. I've always felt he's hated me. His response startled me. He said, well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't think any of his kids think that he loves us. Wow. I can't imagine having 4 grown children and not one of them believing that I loved them or not knowing what it felt like to be loved by their father. Not only that, all of your children have a hard time loving and trusting each other because you've created an environment of pitting us against each other. From the time I was a child, you've used small manipulations and put downs to discourage my siblings from having a healthy and loving relationship with me. But as I've gotten older and broken away from the bunch, I've seen you do the same between them to a smaller but still impactful degree. You've lately been taking the job of executive responsibility of your final estate and throwing it between your 2 of your adult children, pit them against each other, and reward or bribe for favors while you rely on your adult children to house you. Seeing Austin and his friends Carlos the other day gave me another view at something that is seemingly normal around my siblings and in your house, but is considered very toxic and telling of your family and their view of you and how they deal with what is supposed to be a very sad situation. I asked Austin where you were when I came in the house, as I was going to let you see the kids. He replied, oh, Dad's dead. And then he laughed. I said, okay. Austin laughed even more at my apparent discomfort and lack of amusement. Carlos said something along the lines of, yeah, they said that to me earlier, but it was the laughing part that really confused me. I'm not used to people laughing about this kind of stuff. Austin and Eric laughed at that. Again, this is not normal. It's not normal to laugh about your terminally ill father dying. It's not normal not to be affected by that. You taught them to shut off normal emotions, look down and laugh at other family members who were going through devastating emotional and physical complications. As your only child who's legally disabled and whose disability is documented at starting from the age of 6, you literally discriminated and ostracized me for my disability from the time I was diagnosed. There was an immediate change in you towards me once I was broken. You've pointed out how different I was from my siblings and other kids from the time I was going through my illness and punished me for not being normal. So it shouldn't surprise me that they're following in your footsteps by doing the same to you when you're now legally disabled too. It's normal for me to feel sad and hurt over the situation. It's normal for me to be angry over this. I'm lucky that I'm free from the type of bribery and emotional burden my siblings are dealing with. Being the scapegoat and the whistleblower in the family has its perks. Unfortunately, you always try to steal my dignity that I get from being independent from you by playing games with me, lying about me, making fun of me behind my back, and belittling me. Usually I'd fight back by lashing out at you, which allows you to point to me in public and say, "See, she's crazy." Which of course is presented without context to try to silence me because of the humiliation I feel for appearing randomly unstable, or at the very least ensure your audience questions or becomes enraged at me and feels bad for you. Anyone who decides or believes that you're a good person and ignores the evidence to the contrary deserves you. I don't want or need their approval. Fortunately for me, you don't own my dignity, and I will continue to expose the cracks in the family because they can't be fixed if not exposed, and my children deserve a firm foundation. This is the duty and the curse of the family scapegoat. Those of us that escape are able to reverse generations of continued trauma. That is a burden that I am proud of. I admitted to Austin that I was hurt by your latest attempt to start drama with me. I'm finally admitting it to them instead of just lashing out or getting revenge or getting mean to try and cover up my pain for fear that I'll look weak because your cruelty hurt me. I realize, though, that the weakness is not in me. I am rightfully hurt by my father going out of his way to ensure I feel as much pain as he has the ability to inflict on me in the last moments he has ever to speak to me. Instead, I see weakness in a father who has very few moments left in this life, and he spends it trying to hurt the people he's going to leave behind. He believes it's worthy to spend his last moments making sure his oldest daughter knows how angry he is at her, how much he disapproves of her, how disappointed he is in her, how much he dislikes her, how much he wishes and enjoys when she fails because it validates something in him. This is a legacy he wants to leave behind. You have moments left and you're spending it like this? Is this what you want me to remember when I think of my father? Is this how you want me to recall my father's last moments with me to his grandchildren when they ask about him someday? I didn't realize how much I would learn from losing you. I've learned how much I love my kids. How absolutely lucky I am to have two of the most amazing little souls to love no matter who they are, what they do, and what they become. I'm learning what it means to love unconditionally and how important it is to parent with gentleness, respect, and compassion. I want to make sure that there isn't even a question ever from either of my kids when it comes to my love for them. I want them to know unequivocally that they are loved now, forever, and always. I don't want my children to hide things from me or get used to lying as a trauma response to having love withheld from them for making a mistake or a bad decision. I want them to know that even if I'm disappointed or upset about something they do, I will always love them and never punish them with abandonment and neglect to make them question their worth. I'm seeing how sweet, little, and innocent my children are. I'm seeing how sweet, little, and innocent I was. I'm seeing how absolutely absurd and disgusting it is that I have been held accountable and made to feel like I was a bad child for doing very age-appropriate things and being a child. The fact you got into my face and acted incredibly angry to the point of almost shouting at me last December when recalling that I kicked my 1-year-old brother when I was 2.5 years old and acted as if I was some sexual predator because it happened to be his crotch my little foot hit is insane. I was a goddamn toddler. I cannot believe you cannot grasp how insane it is that this and any other infraction I made as a baby or toddler is proof that I was a bad kid from the start. I continued to be punished for age-appropriate things I did as a toddler, child, and teenager. I was abused for being a child my whole childhood. Seeing my baby and toddler, I'm shocked I was treated that way. So I make sure that they're allowed to be children. I'm able to love the sweet, little, and innocent child I was by loving that in them. My loving them as they are helps me to love the little girl that I was. I want to continue to research and learn how to be a better parent and person for my children. I don't want my ego to get in the way of their happiness and their future. I know I'll make mistakes. but I want them to see me dealing with it in a healthy manner so that they can learn how to deal with their mistakes in a healthy manner. I want my kids to feel like they can talk to me about things I do that bother or concern them, since healthy communication, mutual respect, and dignity is a human right and a non-negotiable in my house. I want to leave this world a better place, and I feel I can do that by raising loving and emotionally healthy children. Ironically, you're helping me be a better parent by giving me an example of how I don't want to parent my children. I've learned how important it is to always ensure and encourage a beautiful and healthy relationship between my children, each other, and their other parent. When I'm gone and not able to support or look after them, even when they're adults, I want to make sure they can rely on their siblings and remaining parent. I want to ensure they're taken care of and supported when I can't be there. You've made sure the opposite is true for your own children. I've learned that with family, what's more important is quality over quantity. My children need healthy family more than they need family. I've been so desperate for family since you've pulled my mom, siblings, and myself away from a very big and supportive community in Idaho. You almost left my siblings and I without a mother. You legally divorced my mom only months after her open heart surgery. Do you remember what happened to her? She had her chest sliced open, ribs cracked so that they could be broken apart, and she had machines living for her. You had her come home and pack up her life while she was supposed to be resting and recovering from that immensely serious and dangerous surgery. We were all surprised with the foreclosure notice on our door. Soon after, we all got thrown together in an apartment too small for our family and our dogs. You purposely set us up for failure while we were all incredibly stressed, agitated, displaced, insecure, and angry. This naturally caused an incredibly emotional breakdown and fight between everyone, which allowed you to finally have an excuse to break up the family for good. You set that in motion on purpose. You sure had no problem paying for two 4-bedroom apartments, an expensive new Ford Expedition, when you could not afford our home that you let get stripped away from us. You finally admitted that you let our house get foreclosed on purpose. You forced my siblings and I to leave our toys, furniture, clothes, and pets behind. We got to watch in shame as our neighbors acted like vultures, picking at the leftover bones that was our dying family, while they searched through and scampered off with our belongings that had been scattered all over the driveway. We had to leave behind treasured memories and possessions because you did not want Mom to get the house in a divorce you obviously had been planning for months, if not years. You literally stopped making payments on our house when Mom was going through open heart surgery. You set her up when she was literally fighting for her life. You set her up by inflicting extreme mental abuse on her before all of that to make her crazy, so you could again have an excuse to leave and not be the bad guy. You lied to her family back home and convinced them to lecture her for her treatment of you. They only saw her reactions to the abuse you put her through, so they were confused and did not understand what was happening. After all of that, you take off with her 3 children, which prompted a suicide attempt from her. She had no home, no family, no support, no children, and somehow you're the fucking victim. You played the victim and lied to your family, her family, your own children, and the judge when you divorced her. She ended up with nothing. She barely made it out with her life. I asked you, did you know that Mom never got notification of the court date? You told me you knew. I asked why you lied to the judge and say that Mom knew. You said, it would have turned out in my favor anyway, so I wanted to save myself the time and energy to keep having to deal with your mom. I wanted to get this over with. You stole my mother's children, let us lose our home, let us lose our family and support system, and forever changed our family dynamics because you just wanted to get on with your life. As far as I'm concerned, you pushed my mom to the suicide attempts, and consider what you did, attempted murder. I seriously don't know how you've gotten away with almost killing her off. You were so disappointed when she didn't die from the open heart surgery, because that would have been the most perfect out for you. Thank goodness she survived, especially since you did everything in your power to help guide her to the cliff you were hoping that she would jump from. How you turned her family and her kids against her has terrified me for years. It's mind-blowing how simple it was for you to do that to someone who was so loved, admired, and respected by her community. Unfortunately, my desire and constant desperation to reclaim the family you took from me is why I keep running back to toxic family and people that are incapable of loving me. My children don't get extended family because of you. Thank God they at least have a grandmother who is absolutely amazing with them. They worship her, and rightfully so. She's a great mom and one of the best grandmothers I could have ever given my children. I'm glad that she decided to stay in my life and fight through the trauma that you inflicted on her. In losing you, I've learned that I've never had you. I've never had a father. Not really. I've seen what my friends who have lost their fathers have been through. They're devastated even years later. I've seen what daughter-father relationships are supposed to look like, and I don't relate, not even a little bit. I've always wanted that for me and assumed it was my fault I never had that. From the time I was a little girl, it was obvious that I was hard to love. I knew that. You made sure I knew how happy the family was when I was gone. You often told me when I came back from Grandma's house that everyone was so disappointed I was back. You explained to me that the house was so happy and contention-free in my absence. I remember always begging Mom for days and weeks to let me come back home whenever I was sent away. I would be so excited and happy to be allowed to come back home, only to have my heart shattered by your reaction to having me back. I remember feeling so unwanted when you made a point to tell me how happy everyone had been without me and how disappointed everyone was now that Mom was allowing me back home. My heart always hurt because I felt so unlovable. You made sure that I knew that from the very start of my existence. I was unlovable. So obviously the reason you didn't love me or want me was because I couldn't be good enough. I would try. I would do things and try so hard to make you proud. And you'd say to me, that's what you should be doing anyway. Or, great, but you need to do this or that too. You're always setting me up for failure and moving goalposts that I can never be up to your standards and earn your love. I was perpetually the bad kid, so obviously I deserved to be ostracized and unloved. Now I know that you bullied me and abused me, and then you punished me and blamed me for my normal reactions to your abuse and bullying. I'm not hard to love, and I deserved a father who loved and supported me. I've learned now that I'm losing you, that I'm not losing my father. I'm losing my abuser. You're my abuser and you tormented me. You enjoyed it too. That realization stirs up so much grief that it is impossible to put into words just yet. I've learned how much I've grown, who I truly am, and who I want to be. You've laughed for years over me saying as a child, when I'm bigger than you, I'm gonna hurt you just like you're hurting me so that you know what it feels like. I've always thought it was so weird that you think me saying that was so funny. You've brought it up often while laughing at the memory. You acted like I was stupid for thinking that I could be bigger than you and hurt you. Instead, I thought how sad it is that this is a little girl who is young enough not to realize she'll never be bigger than Amel or her father. And she would realize how lacking of empathy and compassion her father was, that she would think she would have to hurt him for him to understand the pain he's putting her through because he doesn't understand or care how much pain she's suffering through. I obviously thought you needed to feel my pain to understand what you were doing to me. Maybe then you would stop. I thought maybe you just don't understand what you were doing because surely you would not hurt me if you understood what this felt like, right? I've thought that way for years. Since I was a small child, since I was too small to understand that I would never be bigger than you to hurt you. I desired to make you feel my pain in hopes that it would allow you to finally understand what you've done and are doing to me. As I got older, I thought of ways to make you feel my pain and understand what you did to me. I tried to get your family to know what you did to us in hopes that you'd lose your family and support system like you did to Mom and I. It didn't work. Instead, my extended family got mad at me for exposing you and talking about the abuse. It obviously didn't work out like I thought, since I now realize the English family isn't normal or healthy. Naturally, the reaction was not what I was expecting. If they were normal and healthy, they would have reached out to me and offered support, even if they questioned my statements. It's been almost a decade since I told them I was abused, and not one aunt, uncle, or cousin from the entire English family has reached out to ask what happened or offered support. It should be concerning and garner a response of support from a normal and healthy family when they hear news that their niece has been abused. Instead, they were violently mad at me and ignored me or blocked me instead of even responding to me. They should be embarrassed and ashamed of the reaction to me. They unfortunately hurt me more, which you relished and enjoyed. But thankfully, it gave me answers to questions I had about you. It pointed to this being generational abuse. I then tried to ostracize you the way you did me. Didn't work. You're still my dad. I can't shut off my love or desire to have love in return. I do love you, and I always will. I can't stop myself from loving or needing you in my life. I don't know how to do that. Then I learned you were sick. I thought I could enjoy this. I could enjoy seeing you dying and losing everything. I could enjoy watching you in pain. I could enjoy what I felt like was karma giving us justice finally. I daydreamed about being the one to take you to the nursing home and dropping you off. I thought that would be perfect payback for you driving me to the nursing homes, or old folks' homes as you called them back then, parking in the parking lot, and pretending that we were there because you intended to leave me there permanently to live. You did that several times when I was just a teeny bit older than Olivia is now. The thought of doing something like that to her is stomach turning. You did that to me though, several times. It was a sick, sadistic joke to you. I remember being the only one with you in the car and you convincing me that you were going to leave me and only reassuring me after I'd cry and beg you, please don't leave me, Daddy. Please, I'll do anything. Only then. Only after I had cried and pleaded enough to satisfy your amusement would you finally crack, laugh at me, and tell me it's for old people, so obviously I wasn't going to be left there. You'd gaslight me and make me feel like I was stupid for believing you. I was young enough for you to get me to believe you each time this happened, though, even though the scenario was exactly the same each time you brought me there. I thought taking you to your nursing home would give me retribution for that trauma and threat of abandonment. I thought I would enjoy seeing you alone and abandoned. No, I don't enjoy any of this. I can't even force myself to take pleasure knowing you're in pain and will pass away soon. This is more painful for me than I ever imagined. Then when we had the ironic chance meeting at the oncology clinic and I saw you flinching and holding your breath in pain over that shot they had to slowly administer into your belly, it physically hurt my stomach to see you in that much pain. My first instinct was to hold your hand, but I'd worried that you'd be angry at me if I did that. So I resisted. I did offer, but you didn't respond. I chose to believe that you didn't hear me. I hurt for you. Even as you walked away to drive home alone, I felt bad that you were going through that without somebody by your side. I didn't enjoy seeing you alone and in pain like you've enjoyed seeing Mom and I alone and in pain. Instead, I knew what it felt like, so I hurt for you. Even now, I try to put myself in your shoes. I try to imagine how scared, devastated, and pain you are right now, and I have compassion for you. I hurt for you. I don't want you in pain, and I don't want you to die. I don't want you to feel the kind of pain and trauma I've been through. It surprised me that I wasn't enjoying this. It surprised me even more that it hurt me to see you hurt. Then I realized the reason why, and it was a relief. I'm not you. I don't need to see someone hurting to derive pleasure. I realize that I'll never be bigger than you physically to hurt you, but I am bigger than you because I don't want to hurt you. That made me realize a lot about myself, and it gave me peace. And I realized that's all I've ever wanted. Peace, love, compassion, empathy, a dad. Austin said that I'm better off because you're a pain in the ass. No, I'm not better off because of who you are. I'm better off because of who I am. I'm not you. I don't want or need you to hurt to feel or feel my pain to validate what I've been through or explain something about myself. That's now been done. I'm valid. What I went through was real, and my reactions to them were normal. You hurt me. You like hurting me. You're a sadistic, mean, bitter, selfish, and cruel old man. I am sorry this is who you are, and this is what you choose for your life and your family. However, I don't choose this for my family and myself. I realize that I can't find peace, love, compassion, empathy, or a dad in you. It's not okay, but I will be. I wish you peace and comfort in your last moments. Hopefully the next chapter will bring you something beautiful. I truly wish that for you. I do. Sincerely, Audra.